just for the. Hey everybody, how you doing tonight? Welcome to Profiling Evil with Mike King, and I've got Chris McDonough with me. Chris, how you doing tonight?
Good, Mike. Good day. Hey everybody, it's great to be here. Thank you for being here tonight.
So I'm sitting in the Rocky Mountains, and the temperatures have dropped. We actually got a little rain today. What's the weather in South Carolina like?
Hot. Today was a hot day. But beautiful. I mean, live in paradise out here, so it's great.
Well, good. Well, folks, first and foremost, thank you so much for your support over the last 4 weeks, a little more than 3 weeks since we started this YouTube channel. We had no idea what we were getting into. In fact, I'll tell you, I started into this at the prying and prompting of my children, and frankly, I came into it kicking and screaming, thinking no one would ever be interested in a couple of old has-beens talking about stories. But it has been so rewarding to hear from you, to see the chats that you're leaving, the emails we're receiving at profilingevil.com, and just to watch the stream of chats that come in as we're talking to you on nights like tonight. Chris, how's this thing been for you, with the experience?
You know, Mike, this has been a lot of fun because I think both of us have come out of our comfort zone, right? Out of the interview room, for lack of a better term. And I mean, we've got, people here already. I mean, we're just starting to learn how this works. Without you guys, obviously, without everybody subscribing, well, we've got a chance tonight. If you can kind of spread the word for us, I mean, we're in this to be successful, not only for us as a community, and I say community because what we're doing is has a lot of impact on a lot of different lives, but at the same time, hopefully we can bring some value to the whole situation. So Mike asked me to jump on board. I told him I would lower his property value, and he said, "Oh, well, we'll see how that goes." And so I'm grateful to be here and making some new friends at the same time. So we're grateful you're here too.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I want to really take a moment and call out a couple of people who've been really good to us this week. Paula Plunder, thank you so much, and for all the folks from Plunder who have jumped on and are paying attention and working with us and listening to us. We really appreciate it, and thank Paula. And please, to our listeners who don't know Paula, please make sure you're going over there. And then, just yesterday, Linda from It's a Crime gave us a huge shout out, and it was so fun to watch what happened after that occurred. So thank you. We appreciate. We're going to hold these chats tonight, and we're going to try to answer questions as they roll in, but just know that we really appreciate even those of you who decide to try to bump your chat up in the order by using the super chats, because that little bit that you might give us helps us to pay our producer and try to get these things done in a way that we feel proud about, and we hope that you're getting a little nicer content. Chris?
This is awesome. We're so shout out to everybody again. Adeline Smith, we're in the Rocky Mountains. Woohoo! Good to have you here.
No. She's saying we're in the Rocky Mountains.
Oh, we're in the Rocky Mountains.
So yeah, so I'm right near Park City, just a little bit west of Park City, in a city called Ogden. It's one of the most beautiful. It's a railroad town originally, and we have 2 really beautiful ski resorts. In fact, Snow Basin, which was the host of the downhill during the 2002 Winter Olympics, and I had the privilege of actually serving on the intelligence command for the 2002 games, and serving as the federal liaison officer to keep intel flowing back and forth. And if you remember that, it was actually just a few months after 9/11, and the country faced such a terrible time in our history. So we were infused with money from the government to make sure we didn't have a terrorist event happen during the game. It was just an amazing experience. But
Yeah, we've got a lot of folks jumping in here. We got Australia on the line here, Mike. Shout out to Australia. Hello, True Crime. Stephanie, Rebel Rose, Allison. Hey, I know Allison. That's my cousin. Hi, Allison. Good to see you. Sophie's here. Sophie H. Great to see you. Hello, Stephanie, Crystal. Hi there. We're really grateful to see you guys tonight. And if you get a chance, Miss Sophie, holy cow. Thank you
wow, thank you,
much.
Miss Sophia. That's awesome. It's been fun to actually chat back and forth with you too, by the way, Sophia.
We are totally learning how this works. And
yeah, and I saw a couple of folks from Australia too popping in, which I want you to know, those of you in Australia, I've been to every state in the country of Australia. I've worked with law enforcement in Queensland, so seeing Brisbane there just makes my heart just jump. I was there actually working on the G20 summit, and I think I've been to Australia about 7 times in the last couple of years. So it's just really wonderful to have you folks there. Thanks a lot. And now, yeah, I'm seeing Sharon. I don't know where RSA is, but it's 3 a.m. So I know you got to be somewhere like in Europe or somewhere on that line. I don't know, but thanks for joining. You got to get a life, man. Go to bed and catch this on the recording.
Yeah. And Miss Sophie, thank you so much for supporting us. We've seen you in the last 4 weeks so diligently, having faith in us, and hopefully we won't let you guys down on that side, and we'll create more and more, memories together in this journey.
Hey, Chris, take a second. Adeline is talking about wondering what our background is, if we're fakes or if we really once sat in a chair as a cop. Why don't you give us a high-level view of what your career was like in 2 sentences?
Yeah, so I was with an agency in Southern California. I spent 13 years in homicide. I've investigated, a lot of volume, as we like to say.
Investigations, if I might.
A lot of things. I got a cup here from Oprah. This was my Oprah Winfrey Show award. They gave me a cup, and that was a good thing. So yeah, hopefully on the real deal, though. We'll see. We'll let you be the judge of that, but thank you.
Yeah, and if you haven't caught the show we did a couple of weeks ago on the homicide investigation of Matthew Checky, make sure you watch that, because you'll see a little bit about Chris and his background, and he is a fabulous investigator. It's where we became friends, so it's an interesting thing. Suzanne Thompson, wow, thanks for that. And if you have a question, shoot it over to us. Love the picture of the dog. I love watching these little pictures and seeing what you all do. To follow up with Chris, I spent a law enforcement career like he did, and spent most of my career doing major crime investigation, serial murderers, serial sexual abusers. I had the opportunity of being trained as a profiler by FBI profilers, and have looked at criminal cases all around the world. That's what actually brought me to become friends with Chris. I was actually doing a profile on a killer that he had that killed this little boy, and that really launched a fun relationship, didn't it, Chris?
It did, Mike. We've been friends for a long time, and and by the way, I've always been grateful for our relationship as friends, and not only professionally but personally. Mike's taken me fishing before, and I told him, if you put me in a boat, you'll never catch a fish around me, because, for some reason,
you were right. We didn't
catch a thing.
But that makes me remember.
Nobody's caught a fish with me, by the way.
Yeah, but that reminds me, because when I was down at the police department working with you, you took me out on a little fishing trip out into the marine into the area that the Marines are training dolphins to place bombs on things.
It was the
we
SEALs.
went out and worked with the Marines and the Navy SEALs.
Yeah, they come up to Camp Pendleton, and there's a little inlet in there. And at the time, because I remember Mike, when that one dolphin just jumped up on the side of that guy's boat, and he had a big thing, and he pulled him up, and we were both like, "What is that?" And he's like, "Get out of here!" We're like, okay, we're cops.
That was amazing.
Yeah, but they were training them.
Why don't you read what Stephanie's put up here? Stephanie, thank you so much for this. You are so kind.
That is beyond kind. And Steph, just one other, just you being a mom, the fact that case obviously impacted you. It impacted as like others, but to this day, when you walk into those bathrooms and you see the family restrooms, I think that's the biggest tribute that came out of that poor tragedy and that with Matthew. So thank you so much for your kindness and your kind words here tonight, and your diligence. Just kind of sticking with us for the last hopefully week or so, and hopefully going forward, and maybe we can prevent that together. That these tragedies don't happen.
Chris, Stephanie, I want to just comment on something. We don't really talk about this very much, but knowing how this impacts you as you listen and hear the heartache involved in these cases, it's really meaningful to us because it really impacts us as police officers. And it is next to impossible for a police officer to go to the scene, a death investigation or a terrible traffic accident, and not be caught up in the emotion when people suffer. Oftentimes it might be because they have children that are exactly the same age, or they too are going through a family breakup, a divorce, or something like that. And everything becomes personalized and intensified when you do that. And it takes a unique personality in many of the police officers I've been able to work with to push that aside and do their job, and yet go home and then have to face some of those things. Chris, I don't know, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's one of the goals that Mike had when he started this channel. When he reached out to me, he said, "Look," he says, I want to do a couple of things here. One, I want to approach reality without all of the craziness, right? I mean, we don't need to show all the stuff that I think all of us know exists. Sometimes there will probably be times for that, but at the same time, more importantly, the other side of that coin will be he mentioned, I want to humanize the victims and humanize the investigators. And he said, "Would you come with me on this journey?" And I said, "I'm in," because what I see and what you see, all of us, we see together. Times are changing, and we have to be very real about some of the things that take place and some of the things that took place. And we just happen to have been lucky enough to have careers that put us in situations that we can now share in this journey going forward. So we hope really that you get a lot of value out of coming to our channel, because I'll tell you, we're lining up some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
I see Poppy's in Normandy. We've really enjoyed chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I love what the titles each of you come up with. It gives me as a profiler this really strong urge to try to figure out why on earth you chose that particular thing. And Opinionated Oma, just be patient, man. We're Opinionated Oma wants to know why we're not responding quickly on Profiling Evil. We're frankly just amazed at the interest out there, and we're just so grateful for you. And by the way, we got a goal tonight. I want by midnight, if at all possible, to hit 5,000 subscribers. So if you would, please start tweeting and texting and Facebooking your friends and tell them to jump over and listen to the live broadcast with us tonight. And thank you. And Kelly Smith, man, I tell you what, it's just amazing what you people do. And we want you to know that this is so exciting for us because it allows us to really try to push out good content. You wanted me to talk about targeted victims versus victims of opportunity and the differences in perpetrators. For those that haven't had a chance to go out and look at the video that we did on the victim risk continuum, it's really a marvelous tool. And Chris, I don't know that I've ever not had a case that fit in that if I look at the case. But Kelly, the bottom line is that after studying hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of violent criminal events, we've learned a couple of things. That on a continuum, there are low-risk victims and high-risk victims. A low-risk victim would be someone like maybe a stay-at-home mom who goes to the school on Tuesday and plays the piano or attends PTA. She's got the same circle of friends. She goes to the grocery store at the same time each week. She's got really a pretty controlled lifestyle. That would be a low-risk victim. On the high end, we have someone who might be a sex trade worker or someone who's working in selling or buying illegal drugs. And what we have found statistically is that the low-risk victim, that stay-at-home mom, when she's perpetrated upon, it's usually by someone who's known to her. And that's a really important thing. And I want you all to go back and review the victim risk continuum. And don't beat me up over Daybell and the fact that was my first video, folks. I really fouled up by not digging deeper into Daybell.
Well, we're going to fix that.
Yeah, we're going to fix that. And we'll talk about that in a minute too. But look at that thing. But a low-risk victim is perpetrated upon by someone who's known to them statistically, and they are a target of that aggression. Where on that high end, the high-risk victim, that is a victim that becomes it's a stranger that assaults them generally, and they become a victim of opportunity. And those levels of risk can change based on situation, circumstance, and environment. And as you look at that victim risk continuum, you're going to kind of get a better sense of that. And then if you would, maybe as a test, I want you to start applying it to some of the cases that you're reading about and just send Chris and me a note about that and tell us if it's working for you. You want to take that one, Chris?
Yeah, it's just lots of respect for you, your careers, vast knowledge. Thank you so much, JoJo. We're humbled by your thoughtfulness in that. And
don't know where you're from in England, JoJo, but we absolutely love it, and it's the only place I've ever had real fish and chips, and it's done on a piece of newspaper with black ink getting smeared with the grease. So love our friends in the UK. Been there many times. Actually, have an office in downtown London. Awesome. Maybe sunshine. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We are grateful that you're here.
Yes.
And man, thank you. It's really
and
neat.
Also we have Susan Thomas. Mike, I want to give a shout out to, and then Adeline Smith as well over in the chat window here. I see. Thank you so much. We're grateful for your support as well.
Yeah, and Adeline super chat, which was awesome. Yeah.
The show could be therapy, considering you everything you guys do. We appreciate everything you're sharing. I love your dog. That's a cool dog, a little German Shepherd. I had a dog. His name was Irk. I think Mike burned me up on the first one of the first times with his picture.
Yeah, Irk like bad guys.
Yeah, he was Go ahead.
There's Lisa Sluss from Tennessee. Chris actually lived in Nashville, and I'll give you a quick fun fact about Chris. When I first met him, he was the only white guy in an all Polynesian band. I still haven't figured out how that works in San Diego, but moved to Nashville and was working and also doing a little bit of entertaining in Nashville. And Kay Black, man, thanks so much for joining us. But Chris, maybe we'll get you to sing sometime on the channel.
Yeah, don't hold your breath, Mr. King. I love you guys, but yeah, no, that's my therapy, right? I mean, to play guitar, just kind of get out there, meet people. My wife says when she first met me, it was like talking to one of her girlfriends. I was like, what? What does that mean? And she goes, no. She goes, you just like to talk. And I said, well, yeah. I mean, and that translated, and Mike will tell you, we had a saying, you're not worth your salt unless you can get a priest to confess in the interview room. So that's how that came out. So, but thank you for bringing that up, Mike. And I know Mike's very humble. He's trained a lot of people, guys and gals out there. I've seen him in the classroom. I've sat in his classroom, and I've watched a lot of people. Well, let me give you a simple story. He's not going to, he won't tell you what I can. So they were having, there was a caper down it was in Louisiana, and it was a donut shop. And a sister had been murdered. And long story short, the cops back in the day, they came in and they threw the book down on the table and said, we know that you did it. And he lawyered up. He said, you know what? I'm not talking to you. And we did this class, and Mike was teaching it. And one of the things that he does at the end of the class is he basically does a profile, and he breaks it down into in the victim or into the 10 filters of profiling. And we break it down, and Mike breaks it down. And towards the end of the class, he says to this one guy, he says, you took the case over? He says, yeah. He says, I took the case over. He says, okay. And the guy says, well, what do you think I should do? And make donuts. Everybody's like, what? Make donuts? He says, yeah. Go see what it was like for that victim at 3 a.m. to make donuts. And sure enough, that detective, went out there, didn't talk about the caper with the suspect, i.e. the brother, who the cops, believed at that time was involved. And next thing you know, at 2, 3 a.m, he's standing there, and this guy's looking over at him like, what are you doing here? And it's like, I'm making donuts. And he's like, well, why? He said, because I want to feel what it felt like for your sister to be here making donuts. And man, if it wasn't that guy turn into that, over a little time, maybe a week or so, turns to him and he says, hey, he says, I need to tell you about a kid that used to hang out up front, that used to sell dope out here. I think he's the guy that killed my sister. That's Mike King. That's the kind of things that we can all learn in this particular opportunity to be here together. So we appreciate you being here tonight, and spread the word. We're learning it. We're still trying to read all these comments and figure out.
Yeah, I just saw Maui pop up. She's been so fun to talk to. Thank you so much. And Allison, thank you. Do we think Suzanne Morphew will be found? I think Suzanne Morphew will be solved.
Yeah.
And I think as we watch this thing unfold, everything is too tight-lipped for this to not be well in hand. I'm so proud of the sheriff's office and the way that they're doing things. And we've said it before. We know you're frustrated by it. Chris and I jump up and down as we find out that there's so many things that we just don't know about. Some of you asked about, Christy, you're shocking me. The best investigator out there never answers whether someone's innocent or guilty. We just gather facts. So we're helping you gather facts. I'm going to ask you tell me what you think. I don't know, Chris, are you ready to step out on that ledge?
No, not yet. Not yet.
It's not fair to the law enforcement folks. They got too much work to do. But do we have opinions? And
Sure.
do Chris and I talk about those behind closed doors? Absolutely, just like you do. and many of you, we agree with things that you're saying. So, and
Yeah,
we love amateur sleuths.
love them.
That's, and you
We
know
were
what?
all
They're,
amateurs.
yeah.
We all started that way.
And more crimes are solved by amateur sleuths that are just not satisfied with status quo. So thank you so much. Yeah, amazing.
You know, Mike and I we've talked about, this with Suzanne, and we want to be sensitive to the two daughters, and the rest of the family, the extended family. But if you apply the victim continuum that Mike just went over there, I think all of us will come to the conclusion that, okay, this just does not fit right correctly. And you know what? My guess is going to be in the next couple of weeks. It's just a guesstimate, but we talked about this the other night, Mike. Remember where we talked about with Lauren from the TV station? The investigation is compressed now, and what we meant by that is, there was a lot of work that has taken place in the last 60 days, and there's a lot that goes on simultaneously behind the scenes, where you've got the forensic stuff coming to play. You've got the feds involved over there. They had the evidence teams up there from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. CBI has their own forensics teams, and they have to collaborate together. But then you have all this other peripheral intelligence coming in. You may have social media intelligence, you may have phone intelligence, and the list goes on. All of that information now is being compressed into a case file. And see, the one thing that we always have to remember as a community out here, trying to help maybe even solve some of these things, right, for the families, our interactions together as a channel and channels, all of us, we may kick something up that, maybe the detectives might, right? They may see something that you folks are talking about, and then we kind of, get into that groove. And next thing you know it, that leads to something that could just blow this thing wide open. But
yeah, there's been some really good examples of that, even as short as the last couple of days, with reintroducing some information about the bike shops and challenging some of the theories that are out there. This isn't bad stuff for us to be shooting back and forth ideas and asking. It's really boiling down to this huge pool of possibilities. And I haven't read one possibility yet, Chris, in the Morphew case that I can't say, yeah, that's a possibility. Now, what really becomes the challenge for the investigator is, as you bring in all of the additional forms of evidence that are out there, not just our gut feeling, which many of us have, is then we start to get to the probabilities. We filter that data down and we start to make choices that are better. Michelle Dawn, thanks a lot. I wasn't involved in Jessica Chambers. I don't know if Chris was, but I can tell you we've all had cases, at least the two of us have had cases, where we had someone solid, but something went wrong in a jury instruction or something else, and people got off. And it is just something that eats at you your entire career. So I'm glad it's still bugging you. It's the system. It's the best we got.
Yeah, and it is the best system that we have. I mean, our job is to be neutral, right down the middle, whether it's good or bad. A good investigator and is the type of individual who is able to stay in the middle. And when they get bad information, they put it on paper and they give it to the defense attorney, knowing potentially that, you're going to blow up in the media, you're going to be, this or that, and all kinds of other stuff. And, but your responsibility is to just, put it out there. And then if it's right, it will fall into place. And you'll know it pretty quickly in terms of as the case goes on. And I think Susan Morpho, that's a kind of caper that is, it takes a lot of time and a lot of patience, because you only get one shot at it. And, you know, these folks are all going to show up in a courtroom the moment you put a set of bracelets on them and you say you're under arrest and you have that, you know, that authority by the government to take that power away from them, their liberty of freedom for a moment. You have to do that with dignity. And you have to, you know, treat them with respect and say, look, you know, I'm not here to judge you. That's not my place. But I am here to find out, you know, what the other side of the story is. And Mike and I both know, and Mike, I mean, you can chime in on, you know, we know what it's like when you do that and you sit there and you listen to the story in the interview room and you just go, holy cow, you know, this person or whatever is still a human being. And so I have two thought processes. One, there's evil. And then the whole reason this channel is put together is because of pure evil. Okay? And in this channel, we're going to talk about both of those as we go forward here. And by the way, there is a difference. You know, they're both bad, but, you know, Mike has sat down with pure evil. I have as well, but most of the time, people that we run into are just, you know, bad people or good people that did bad things. Yeah. So anyway, Michelle, thank you. We appreciate.
Yeah, send us an email. We'll look at these and try to figure out. We have so many cases that are ours that we're trying to figure out how to even get into this thing. But we'll look at that. The one that was on Tennessee, it's the same. Profilingevil.com. Send us a note on that. I don't know if you saw Snowflake Sue there, but I got to go back to my Aussie friends for just a second. I don't know this case from Brisbane, but I'll tell you what, if you get a minute, just look up Betty Shanks and Mike King. We didn't date. She was murdered 50 years ago. It's the coldest cold case in Brisbane. And I actually, about 12 months ago, did some stuff on ABC and talked about that case. And there's a really nice map that's online that you can find. And so for my Aussie friends in Brisbane, there's a case there that I did recently that you can kind of get some information on. So Yasmin, just want to say you guys are you guys have a great new channel. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is a weird experience, isn't it, Chris? I mean,
yeah.
I just can't tell you enough. I mean, our goal, as Chris talked about it, was to hopefully change some of the narrative that we've been feeling recently to maybe humanize police, not minimize the stupid mistakes that have been made by police lately. And in some cases, there have been some horrid mistakes, but to remind people and humanize police. And we hope to continue to do that as we go through it. You want to take that one, Chris?
Yeah, Sharon. So Sharon Karen, thank you so much for the question. It says, is it very difficult not to judge in some cases, or you're able to look past the evil and pure evil and see where the person comes from? You know, that is a gift. It is a gift. You either have it or you don't in law enforcement. And, you know, a lot of agencies, in order to get, you know, into the investigations division, you have to go through a battery of Q&As, and sometimes they send you to, you know, psychologists, et cetera, because, you know, you don't want to get into that room and, you know, to your point, Sharon, have that, you know, already prefabricated concept of, well, this person did it, so therefore I'm going to just make them say that they did it. Okay. No, that's far from the truth. Okay. 100%. And I have a lot of cases where, you know, other people have said that's happened, okay? But I've always looked past that and know with inside of my heart that, no, you know what? This person did a bad thing, but it doesn't mean they're a bad person. But then again, you get the Brandon Wilsons of the world. Mike can tell you about, you know, all the guys on death row and all the serial killers. You know, those guys wake up in the morning, make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, put a bag together, and they go to work. Okay. Yeah. Now that's pure evil.
Their work is punishing people. Yeah.
Their work is punishing people. And, Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Finish your thought.
No, I had a flashback while you were talking with that question. Maybe I'll get to that a little later. Our jobs were intense and we were around a lot of evil. Yes, I'd agree with that. How did we deal with that when we were done for the day? You know what? Every cop handles it a little differently. Some went home and self-medicated. Others went home and turned off the switch and became family people, and they were moms and dads who went back to taking care of family. One thing I found is I couldn't be a dad and a husband when I was at work. It just was really difficult. But I couldn't be a policeman when I was at home, and it was just my way of doing that. And then of course faith, and I know Chris, you have a great deal of faith as well, and it doesn't matter whether it's been officers in the Muslim League of the New York City Police Department, or Jewish officers, or Christian, or officers that I've met that in Thailand that are Buddhist. Faith plays a huge part for people in being able to create some balance in their life, and you got to have the balance, otherwise you can get goofy really quick.
Yeah, that balance is really necessary, and you have to have vents. Law enforcement officers, don't have enough vents sometimes. They see the worst of the worst, and remember, everybody that calls 911 is not asking, for somebody to drop off a bag of cheeseburgers, right? They're calling because there's a problem to be solved and or at least dealt with. So every single 911 call, and by the way, one of the things that I want to point out, and we want to point out, are all of the great dispatchers out there. These guys and gals go home, night after night, day after day, without the public's knowledge and totality of saying, you know what, you guys really did a good day. You did a good thing today. And so they learn how to compartmentalize information. And I think, all of us need to understand sometimes that we do compartmentalize it. But if you keep it in too much and you don't have those vents, like Mike, for me, like guitar, my family, I have a Jack Russell who's an absolute lunatic dog. I love him to death. Okay. Those kind of things, you have to have stuff other than just police work or investigative work. In our case, we spent most of our career in investigations versus, pushing the street. But balance is critical, and there's a variety of different ways, So I didn't drink. I still don't drink. I know Mike doesn't drink, so that was also another critical piece, I think. What's the life expectancy after retirement, Mike? 5 years? The FBI, didn't they do a study?
I don't know. They say that they drop pretty fast.
Yeah, because of all the adrenaline that you go through. By the time, you had 20, 25 years in law enforcement, they say that your body's had almost triple the amount of adrenaline that's gone through it. So your body ages. So you have to have those vents, to get that out there. I saw Sprinkle Cake. She says, hi, you guys. I'm sure, like most other people, I'm a true crime buff. There it is. Thank you for putting that up there. And Amateur Sue, thank you for sharing what you know, and good luck on this channel. Thank you. We appreciate it.
You. And I'll tell you, the reason we're seeing this success thus far is because of you. So please keep sharing with your friends. And again, tweet and text and do all that stuff that helps spread the word. We really appreciate it. And we hope that you will also be critical. And some of you have been pretty critical, and that's okay. We're trying to learn as we go through this process, and we want to make the channel really worthwhile. We want to have a component not only of educating, and you'll find that we're simply not going to put up the gory pictures, I frankly don't want to look at them anymore. I looked at them for enough years. But the behaviors, the emotion, the information that can be gleaned from the crime scene, all of that can help you really visualize and understand what happens. When as a profiler, when you go to a cold case, it could be years old. You don't have the emotion that's built up like an officer like Chris when he showed up on Matthew Checky and saw that little boy laying there. Oftentimes what you do in the profiling process is you're looking at photographs and other things. I never turned down an opportunity when I could to go into a crime scene and sit in a corner with my back against the wall and just sit and think and visualize and look at pictures, almost vicariously roll in the dust, Chris, to get a sense of what was going on there. And always the question goes back to our immediate sense is we want to know the whodunit. And it always goes back to know first, who's the victim and why did they become a victim? And I think that's the other goal of this thing is that we don't disgrace the victim by this show, but we help tell their story in hopes that it helps you reduce victimization in your own life or at least understand these kinds of crimes.
Yeah, no, it's, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I missed Sharon's there, but Nicole Marie, what's the most craziest case you guys have ever worked? Sometimes you just bust out laughing and you can't stop. And earlier tonight, before we started the show, I was sharing a case with Chris about a serial killer that I worked on. And I just started laughing, and people don't think that it's inappropriate laughter. It's just sometimes these rocket scientists that are called criminals do some really crazy things. And I just couldn't stop laughing when we were talking earlier. I don't know. Chris, do you have one that jumps out at you that we could do quickly?
Well, I mean, they're all crazy in a way, right? But at the same time, which sticks with me?
While you're thinking of that, I'm gonna just tell you that cops do crazy things too. For instance, I was serving on the SWAT team in the city that I worked in, and the tactical team had been activated because President Ronald Reagan was in town, and you get kind of inconsequential jobs because the Secret Service has everything well in hand, and they put us on some exterior areas to secure the president. Once he got locked down in the hotel and everything was safe, we were debriefing and preparing for the next day, which was going to be a heavy schedule. And one of our SWAT team officers drove limos part-time, taking the high school kids to dances and stuff. And we hatched this plan that it would be really funny to one of us had a rubber Ronald Reagan mask, and we had this limo. So we thought it would be really funny to just drive around the city and throw litter out the window and yell and wave at people. Needless to say, we all got in a lot of trouble. But it's not only just the wacky things that the criminals do, but sometimes the cops do pretty crazy things.
Yeah,
so
we do some funny stuff. It kind of breaks up the humor, right? I mean, it used to break up the humor, and we never got a free toaster though when you give tickets out. But that's all a myth. It's a myth. So some of those things out there. There's a lot that all of us have seen and we've all done. It took. I just want to read Jim's. Well, first let me finish answering that young lady's question. I think there are cases that stay with you. And every paramedic, every dispatcher, every cop, every lawyer. I mean DAs, because they have to eat this stuff, for months on end, and then put it on trial and then prove it. And they can't be wrong. By the way, they cannot be wrong because it has to be proved beyond a reasonable doubt. But there are certain things. I mean, I have some certain kid cases that stay with me. that were pretty crazy. And, you know, I still process it today, you know, in all honesty. But at the same time, you know, there's no greater feeling than having that family who, you know, I had a caper of a guy who, you know, killed two young kids. You know, they were 18, 19, so they're young kids, in my opinion, in a hotel room. And after the trial, the father came up to me, and he was a big, huge guy, and you know, and he gave me this just gigantic bear hug, and you know, I'm like, oh, you know, okay. And he just looked at me and he said, "Thank you," and that is still here today. And so, and that was a crazy case. We can go into details later on, but those are the kind of things that stick with you. So, thanks for asking that question.
Jim, it took 10 days for law enforcement to look at the Morphew home. You know, I don't have an idea of some of those time lines. And could there have been legal issues? They may have had difficulty getting a judge to buy off on why they needed a warrant there. Again, it's not against the law for someone to go missing, and that's a real challenge for us in this thing. We want to. Our guts tell us something bigger has gone on, but this woman could have chosen to go off, and that's one of those, you know, real thin line possibilities. So, getting a judge to agree to allow us to violate, or not violate because we have a court order, but to go in and take control of somebody's personal property is a big deal, and there are a lot of things that go into that. Folks, thanks again. Those of you who have taken advantage of the super chats, I hope we're answering your questions and rising them to the top and spending the appropriate amount of time on them. We really appreciate it because it just helps us a ton as we try to put this thing together and continue it. But thank you so much.
Yeah. Also on the Morphew thing, Mike, you know, if it makes, just so everybody, we can kind of level set with everybody as well. Mike and I have talked offline, you know, about some of the things that, you know, we're seeing. And one of those search warrants is obviously, you know, sealed. So that is a really good sign that they're making progress. So without speculating on anything out there, I think we're all going to, you know, just keep our seatbelts on. You know, if we've all got our foot to the pedal here, and I would be really surprised if there's not a resolution to this particular caper.
Yeah, I'd agree. This question from Dana is kind of interesting. Is COVID and the coronavirus pandemic impacting us, creating more crime or less crime? We're seeing both ends of the spectrum from my perspective. We're seeing some regions of the country complaining about the number of prison inmates that are being released, with this being a reason. I have some personal heartburn with the idea of releasing prisoners under the COVID challenge. I think government is taking advantage of us as citizens and allowing inmates out of prison too soon just so they can save money on their budgets. That's my own personal opinion, and I probably shouldn't share that. But there is evidence also to suggest that things are, some case types are increasing, like domestic violence and other things. With that, there are also decreases in police services. So I don't know that the reporting is accurate enough to really give us an indication. You got any feelings on that one, Chris?
You know, I think the DV, domestic violence situation, is always a danger whenever people feel, you know, trapped, because and that's one of the things that Mike and I, you know, we're going to talk about. We're trying to line up some things, some real experts on, you know, those types of problems, because, you know, we recognize, you know, the cycle that, you know, victims get into, and, you know, the dangers that they're placed into. And whenever you have something like this that, you know, traps people indoors, and there's already, you know, that problem, taking place, secretly behind those doors, it potentially could be, very dangerous for that young lady. So we want to be sensitive to that. And if you find yourself in that, if anybody is out there in that situation, please reach out. You can even ping us on this channel, and we can point you in the right direction. Hopefully, nobody is, but let's just keep the faith that we can help.
Yeah. So, Chris, one thing I'd like to ask is I'd like to ask those of you in the audience if there are some cases that you'd like us to follow, and please send those to us in an email. I don't think we can capture the chat when we're done. So send them in an email to profilingevil.com. But I don't know. Let's tell them what we're going to talk about next Thursday, Chris.
So next week is going to be the zombies. We're going to talk about Valo and Daybell, but we're going to come at it from an approach that nobody has seen. We're coming at it from what the investigators are feeling. And Mike and I have put together, we're in the process of putting it together, some information that, quite frankly, you're going to want to see it, because I think everybody's going to have an aha moment when they connect the dots on certain things. And so talk about a crazy case, right? Can you imagine that guy when he retires? We're going to have, I hope we can get him on the show, Mike, at some point, because, so that's coming up next. We're going to hit that. When are we going to do that, Mike?
So next Thursday, I think we'll plan on doing that. And then I think the plan will be shortly after that. We're going to talk about another case that I think you're going to really enjoy. Yeah. It's the murder of a woman on Valentine's Day, and how her case was solved using genealogy and DNA. We'll have the investigator on with us, who's a friend and just such a good guy.
And hopefully we'll get the gal from who did the Golden Gate Killer, right?
Yeah, and we'll have the DNA expert and the genealogy expert on the Golden State homicides and that serial killer case that also helped solve this Valentine's Day case. And then further down the pike, we got serial killers up the gazoo that we'll talk about. In some cases you might know, others might be new to you, like last week's. But yeah, we hope to be able to do that. Along the way, we'll try to pick up on new things. This week we did a review on the dark web, and I don't know if you had a chance to listen to that one. YouTube doesn't really push that one too hard because of the word dark web, but we would encourage you to really share that one out, especially if you have friends in law enforcement, because it's an area that law enforcement could embrace and really take advantage of to help find missing persons. We spotlighted a young woman, 29-year-old mother of one, from Cape Coral, Florida, who disappeared last month and has not been seen. And the interesting thing was she has a drug addiction and some other challenges. And Tim, thank you so much. I don't know if you guys haven't seen Tim Sessions' his channel. Look up Tim Sessions, and if any of you like hiking, he does the funnest things on hiking. So Tim, thanks so much, and hopefully we're going to help you continue to build that channel and get you just enough money to buy a razor so you can shave that beard and get cleaned up a little bit. But yeah, so anyway, we got some fun things coming down the pike. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, but anyway, back to the dark web. And here's I'm going to get on my little soapbox for a moment. This woman was a drug addicted mom who is getting very little attention. Then we have a Suzanne Morphew, who's this vibrant mom with what appears to be everything going for her, and she's getting quite a bit of attention. There's some real tragedies because, again, think about this: 600,000 to 800,000 missing people every year, and at least 100,000 or 2.25 million around the world that are never heard from again. This is a serious problem in our country. And some of you have asked if we know about some homicides that have occurred. In our country alone, we average more than 21,000 murders every single year. These numbers are staggering, and these are tragic cases, and there are families and extended family that are deeply hurt by each of these.
Yeah, there's this, and that's the other side of what we're going to do here on this channel. We're going to talk about, the pure evil, and then we're going to talk about the evil. I think what's going to set us apart from anybody is we may know some of the people actually involved in these things. And hopefully we can get them. We're trying to line up some folks now that will set us apart, and hopefully set you apart, as you're part of us with this journey, because you'll be able to see how they thought during the investigation. And then as you dive into, your own channels, Plunder, she's been just absolutely fantastic. And others, Mike, you're good at, knowing, who's been following us, a lot more right now than, in all honesty.
We're getting great support from so many people.
Just so many people.
If you're attached to other true crime channels, again, we would love to collaborate and work with and learn from them. So please chat us out to those people and create relationships where you can, and keep the counsel and the critiques coming in, because we really want to make this thing work for you. At the same time, do it in a way that we can feel very proud of what we're releasing, and that we're protecting a profession that we love. And most importantly, that people are coming home, and we're solving crimes, and we're putting bad guys in prison.
Yeah. We've had Tyson, Tyson's been fantastic. True crime. Those guys have been great, just chiming in on some stuff, for us. And by the way, you're teaching us about, how this environment, how to best, bring content into this environment. We really will, lean on you to help guide us even further, because we want to do the right thing. But at the same time, we also want to be pretty sensitive to some of the ongoing investigations. And that's why, we're just not going to sensationalize the Daybell case. Everybody's talked about that from different angles. But, I guarantee you, when you watch next week, you're going to have an aha moment by the way we approach this situation. And there's a lot more coming. Mm-hmm.
And Chris, got to call out Half Rudder. Thank you so much. And Hussy Mouse, the fact that Web Sleuths is giving us a shout out is really meaningful.
That's awesome.
Again, folks, I don't know. See if you can help us out and get to that 5,000 mark tonight, and we just plan on continuing to grow. I cannot thank Circa 3 enough. Circa 3 stepped up and offered their services. This is an organization, a company that has done work for Extreme Makeover and all kinds of fancy places. And they felt that this stuff was so important that they were going to offer as much as they could in helping support us. And of course, we want to make sure we're taking care of them. So shout out to the Circa 3 group, Tyler Cahoon, Casey LaRose. Thank you so much, man.
Thank
It's
you
making
so much,
a huge
guys.
difference.
They work really
all
hard.
Of you, thank you.
Yeah, Web Sleuth is amazing. You guys are amazing. That thread is fantastic. Some really smart people weigh in on that thread. So tell them, we say hi, and we look forward to learning from you guys as well. That's good stuff. And going back to Tyler and the rest of the crew, behind the scenes, to your point, Michael, neither of us would be sitting here going, okay, so what do we talk about tonight? Okay, in terms of how's this chat thing work?
Yeah, thanks a lot. So in that final minute that we got here, Chris, what's the biggest piece of wisdom you got?
Be a good listener. I think our world is we're missing each other, and quite frankly, I think if we become better listeners, and then kind of give that other person the benefit of the doubt. And I think what the interview room has taught me as working death investigations is you never ever know what's on the other side, inside of that other individual. And I think being a good listener helps you to not necessarily empathize in totality, but to develop an empathy for that person. And I think we need more of that today. So I think that's what I would offer tonight, Mike, that if we become a good listener, that would be really important. Love the channel. Miss Sophie, that's crazy. Love
Miss
you.
Sophia, you are amazing. And
Thank you.
I don't know why, but I wrote a book called Who Killed King Tut? And if you'll email me your address, I'll sign this and send it to you. I want you to know that I can claim something no one else in the world, except for my partner on this investigation, of solving the coldest cold case in history. 3,000 years ago, King Tut was murdered, and this was showcased on the Discovery Channel. In fact, the show won an Emmy Award. Yes. And I want to send it to you, Sophia. You are so kind. And I want to end, Chris, with just something that I think is remarkable. And this is probably why you and I had so much success interviewing offenders together. And that is that I was thinking the exact same thing. And I hate to capitalize and take the last word, but I was taught many years ago that the secret is to be interested, not interesting. And if we can each plan on doing that and listening more, we're going to uncover a whole lot of more information than we would by just spewing out information. It's the key to profiling. It's to be able to look at the painting and start to understand the artist. And until we talk to you again next week, we wish you the very best and cannot thank you enough again. Please just continue to support us. We really need it. Chris, thanks so much for helping me. I don't know what I'd be doing on this thing without having you alongside. To Circa 3, thank you. To Cliff, thanks for the music. And if any of you are looking for someone to come and speak online in an event or something, get a hold of us because we can help there as well. But until then, thanks a lot. Have a great evening, and best wishes to you all.
Thank you, everybody.